All right, let's talk about performance enhancing drugs, PEDs. Facebook has been going bonkers lately at me. Apparently, I'm a PED user. There's people dropping comments. And the thing that just baffles me is this is someone who's supposedly Christian. 3 kids, right? And he's talking shit to like an online personal trainer on the other side of the world. Like, what are you doing with your time, mate? What are your kids doing when you're sitting there writing Instagram comments back to me or Facebook comments? You know, what's your wife doing? Why don't you hang out with your wife? Or if you're at work, why don't you do some work? Or if you're doing this on your spare time, like, don't you have better things to do than write, like, I hate juice heads that just lying to their audience, taking testosterone? It just baffles me. Like, I would never, ever write a comment like that. And there is a lot of people online, don't get me wrong, that abuse performance-enhancing drugs and say that they have never used it or that they're not on it. And they clearly are. And they're lying to their audience saying, hey, man, buy my programs. You know, you can achieve my physique. You know, I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, right. But I'm not going to grab my phone and go, you're such a liar. You should go to hell. Da, 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 da. Like, if he wants to do that, if she wants to do that, a lot of females do it too. If they want to do that, that's their decision, right? But I sleep very well at night knowing that I'm not in that boat. And I don't know how people like this sleep at night, to be honest. Knowing that they're just lying to their audience. And it's how they make a living, and a very generous living too. Like, there's honest people out in the world. There's people building. There's people teaching, right? There's people healing people. There's people, educating people. And then there's these people manipulating people. Like I don't like it too, okay? But if you come accusing me for taking performance-enhancing drugs, and just lying to my audience, then I'm going to come back at you, which I have been doing. All right. And thank you for everyone who's been saying, Brock, don't let the comments get to your head. Don't even worry about them. Why do you even acknowledge these comments? Look, I do it for a reason. It does benefit engagement. I'm not going to lie when people comment. So I like having a go at them, because you come at me, I'll come at you. But also, I like kind of figuring out who these people are and how far they're going to go and what is their limit to their accusations that they've been making. For example, this guy's like, you're a juice head, you're just lying to your audience, you're taking steroids. And I was like, okay, I've been training 15 years, blah, blah, blah. Okay, he didn't want to buy it. Whatever, man, you're a liar, da, 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 da. So I said to this guy, okay then, if I was to get my blood work, what markers would you want to see? And then he swore at me. He goes, I don't give a F about that stuff. You're a liar, blah, 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 blah. So obviously his limit is actually knowing if, what your blood work looks like if you are using performance-enhancing drugs. And he didn't even know. He didn't even take me up on the offer. He was just like, I don't care if you do that or not. You're just the F in this and you're a F in that. So that's why I like kind of having a go. Throwing out the rod and reeling it in to see how far they're actually going to go. Facebook's just absurd for it. It was a video that I posted, which was called Stop Doing These Exercises If You Want to Build Muscle in 2023. And I was doing exercises that don't lend themselves well to building muscle, and people hated it. They were like, why this, why that? You're just a juice head, and you take steroids. And I was like, okay, well then why? Why is this exercise good for building muscle? And once again, I didn't have an answer. Some guys just like, you're a clown. And I said, why am I a clown, Spark? I remember your name, Spark. I remember your name. And he didn't reply. I have very thick skin. I've gone through a lot of things in my life to realize that there's much more important things to spend your time on in terms of like dwelling. Like, obviously I'm spending time writing back to the comments, but I don't lose any sleep. I don't think about, what should I say? I'm like, these guys might be right. Maybe I am a performance enhanced athlete. I don't waste my time on it, but it's just interesting to see, why these people would write these comments. But I also get it on the other side that there are people just like in the fitness industry actually just like abusing and lying to people, manipulating people. And I came across this Instagram account. His name's Goob. I don't know if it's his real name, Goob. Oh, my phone's not here. Let me just do a quick Google search. Goob Instagram. What's his Instagram? I want to give him props. Goob_U2, John Dorsey. And he is just an absolute angel of the fitness industry. Angel's probably not the right word. He's kind of tearing people down. He's exposing influencers. I think he calls them shitfluencers or something like that. What's his Instagram bio? It's actually really funny because he's calling out people that are editing photos and lying to their audience. His Insta account's growing, which is awesome because he's actually bringing attention to the amount of lies in the fitness industry. What's his bio? Oh, mate, I just got kicked off. I just got sent a code. I don't even know what it is. Mate, just let me get on Instagram. You serious? Just want to see his bio. Just want to read it. Here we go. Online coach, dog dad, your favorite influencer's least favorite influencer. And he has a green screen behind him and he goes, welcome to the show. And then he pretty much tears them apart because people are lying. So, it's good to see people out there that are doing that work. You could say doing God's work because he'll literally zoom into the back of a photo and there's meant to be a straight wooden panel or there's meant to be a straight locker from taking a gym selfie, but it kind of curves in or it goes out. So it might curve into their waist because they've edited the photo. They've pinched their waist in so that you think they have a smaller waist, and they really do. And then if their shoulders are up top, they'll kind of push them out so that they have this wider shoulder, smaller waist look, this attractive V-taper physique that people will look at and go, wow, that's amazing. I want to look like that. I'm going to sign up to your program. So these people that are being manipulated have no idea. But thanks to Goob's work, and I put myself in this category too, hopefully, sharing the right information and letting people know what's out there. We are taking these people down. And the sad thing is, and we'll get this later on when we talk about photo editing, is some of these people already have amazing physiques, like top 1% in the world, and they're still editing their pics. It's not good enough to be the top 1%. They want to be the top 0.5%. They already have a six-pack. They already have big arms. They already have a big chest, big shoulders, big quads, whatever. But they further accentuate their bodies to take themselves to that kind of alien-like physique and get more likes and go viral and get more clients and make more money until you get caught. Until the clients that sign up realize that they're not getting the same results that they've been promised. I was looking at Goob's content last night, and he literally got a message from. So there was a lady posting sign up and this can happen in 90 days. And the lady that was in the 90-day photo, a transformation, messaged Goob and was like, hey, this influencer is using a photo of me that's 1 year apart or 2 years apart that I achieved without her, and she's using it to promote a 90-day transformation when really it took 1 to 2 years. And he called her out on that. There is a lot of this, and I've actually been approached on Instagram from different accounts saying, hey Brock, if you want transformation pictures, you can buy them off us. And I didn't even know this was a thing. Excuse me. You can buy transformation photos? I was like, what? Here I am trying to transform people's bodies in real life. And there's personal trainers, online coaches that are probably not real coaches on the gym floor that are just buying transformations and posting them, getting clients, because that's social proof. That's a really strong way to get business. Posting body transformations used to go viral for me. I used to get a lot of work from people seeing what I've done with other people. Nowadays, people kind of don't really care. I think I posted, a transformation that I achieved with someone over 8 weeks and what he achieved in 10 years, really turned his life around, which is incredible. And it only got 100 likes, maybe even less. And I was just like, man. Anyway, But I like to think I get it from real people, but there's people out there. I can't believe you can buy body transformation photos. Like, what's next? Just hiring someone to write your programs and saying that you write the programs. That's probably too obvious. That's probably already been done. But yeah, you have to be careful out there in the fitness industry. I've been accused, if you followed me for a while, you'll know that my physique hasn't really changed that much. I've been pretty similar since, let's say, 2017, which is like 6 years. I've maybe gained 3 or 4 kilos of muscle. I do look bigger. I do look fuller. I am stronger, but like, what do you expect of like 6 years of hard training 5 to 6 days a week? Of course I'm going to get stronger. Of course I'm going to build muscle. I'm a coach. I'm following evidence-based principles. Of course I'm going to build muscle. And just because I've arrived at this point, like, if there's no context between what's happening between now and the years that I've had of training, then okay, maybe I am a steroid user. But if you follow me, then you'll know that I've just been training hard for ages. I won't lie and say that I don't have good genetics, because I do. I definitely think, and I want to dive into the research. That's one thing I want to do soon, is just like look at how genetics, especially in like Polynesian cultures, specifically the Maori culture, how they build muscle quite easily. I would say I'm a mesomorph. I build muscle quite easy. And I think, that comes down to my genetics. My cousins are very muscular. They eat whatever they want, but they, and they still lift, but they're huge. And our bones are quite dense as well. Like, we have quite thick wrists. Some people, you'll just go up to them and like put your hand around their wrist, and if you're on YouTube, you can see this, and you just put your finger over their wrist like that. Not a lot of people can do that to me. And I'm not saying that I'm this specimen, but my genetics, I was blessed with good bone density. And if you have good bone density, then you can bear more weight. You can carry more weight. Therefore, you're probably going to be stronger in the gym. So if you train consistently, you were built for building muscle. So I definitely have those genetics that definitely, I guess, kick-started my progress or helped me see good results initially. And when you see good results from something, you often tend to do it more. That's how the motivational cycle works. You try something, you get results, and then you repeat that thing. You try something, you get results, and then you continue to do that thing. Right? When you try something and you don't get results, you have to have a certain level of motivation to continue going. Like, maybe your doctor said that you're going to have a heart attack, and even though you're training and you're not getting the results, you still have to do it because you've had a heart attack and you need to push. You need to continue. Okay, look, I haven't lost any weight this week. I need to be better with my diet. I'm going to continue. I haven't built muscle in a month. Maybe my training's a bit off, but I'm going to keep going because I don't want to have a heart attack and, leave my family behind with X and Y. Try things, get results, and repeat. That's the motivational cycle that I think ways work. And that definitely helped me to continue to push on with my training. So let me just kind of break down how I achieved my natural transformation. Then I'm going to break into other things. So I was a sporty kid growing up. I'm going to do a very, very brief one. I've already broken down like how I built 21 kgs of muscle, which sounds, okay, look, maybe that sounds like I've taken performance enhancing drugs, but there's context to it that I'll quickly explain briefly. If you do really want to know in detail, go back to the first episode of this podcast. The audio is pretty average, the video is pretty average, but anyway, you get the point. Go back to it and watch it, and then you'll have a real true understanding of how I achieved my transformation. Because building 21 kilos of muscle mass and actually being leaner and stronger and more muscular than before, look, that smells like PEDs to me as well. But there's a reason that happened. Okay, so I was a sporty kid. I was always into sport. My dad called me monkey. My mum called me skinny binny. I was like this little wiry kid, like, always lean, running around, doing things. I love doing things. Riding my bike, climbing trees, throwing balls around. When I played sport, I played softball, volleyball, rugby league, touch, and I did athletics as well. So I was very sporty. I played representative sport for all the sports that I played for. Like, I was playing at, I guess you could say, state representative or regional I even represented my island, or like South Island, for rugby. I was asked to play New Zealand for one sport, touch, but I couldn't afford it at the time because I had to pay for it, which sucked. So I was quite, I guess, gifted naturally with like coordination and, actually enjoying physical activity. And that kind of pushed me into sport. And then as you get older, as I pushed into high school, there was a gym at the high school that I went to, and my mate that I met, Rob, he introduced me to weights. He had a bench press at home, so I met him in my rugby team, and then he had this like chest. Like at 12 years old, he had a chest. I was like, mate, how did you get that chest? And it was because of bench press that he was doing at home. So like when we hung out, I would do some bench press too. And then I got introduced to push-ups. And then at high school, we had a push-up competition. How many can you do in a minute? And without any training, obviously I was doing bench press and push-ups. I wasn't training for this specifically, but I got one of the records for the school. I think I got the third best in the school. And it's like the history of the school. And this is an old school. I don't know when it was founded, but it's probably, 1800 something, early 1900s. Like it's a very popular old school with like rich tradition. And I got third for my year group, which was year 9. So as like a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, I got third, which was, I remember it was 58 push-ups in a minute. So it pissed me off because I got less than one press up per minute. And I wasn't even trying to get that. I was just like, just going for it. And, for the measure, you had to hit someone's fist every time for the push-up. And if you didn't hit the fist, then it didn't count. So I remember I was just going for it. I tried and I just banged it out. I got 58 push-ups in 60 seconds and my chest was sore for 3 days. It was so sore. But that really got me hooked. And I was like, maybe I'm quite good at this. So I actually practiced that time and I kept practicing and I ended up getting 65, which put me like first or maybe second for my year. But then it just got out of control. There was this Asian guy called Yoshi who got like 125 and I was just like, all right, mate, you win. I get it. He was just like this small, shredded, like gymnast type guy. He absolutely killed it. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. But that kind of got me into lifting weights. And then at lunchtime, like what do you usually do at lunchtime? You usually just sit around and talk to your mates. We used to play rugby. We used to play touch. We used to play league at lunch. But then it just got to a point where we just started lifting weights. Rob and I started lifting weights. And then my other friends, Miharu, Eugene, Kaylee, we all started lifting weights at lunchtime, which was super fun. If it was raining, of course we'd lift. If it was sunny, maybe we'd go and play touch or we'd just hang out and laugh sometimes. Like we wouldn't do it every single day, but most days. It was like 4 out of the 5 days of the week, we were in the gym lifting weights. And it was just fun. We would laugh, we would joke in between sets. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we loved it. So as I began to kind of just like fall in love with lifting weights and also playing sport, and then I was kind of getting curious with nutrition, I really started seeing big progress. And I went from being the small, wiry kid, like the smallest guy on the rugby field, to, let's just say, one of the most muscular. I wouldn't say the biggest because there's the forward pack, which are huge. I was a fullback. I was in the backs. And I started getting pretty big, and my top weight at high school, I ended up getting to 85 kilos, which is about 6 or 7 kilos lighter than I am now. But at 18 years old, 17 years old, that's pretty decent. So I was 85 kilos. I wasn't, like lean or anything. Like I think I had abs, but they weren't that impressive. But like I was still pretty strong. I remember my form was probably a bit dodgy, but I had a trap bar shrug of like 200 kilos. So I used to, at 17, 18 years old, it's pretty strong. Like I'd put 200 kilos on the barbell and like shrug, and I had these huge traps. For a minute, just because I was obsessed with that exercise. And like I said, I wasn't training very good. My technique wasn't on point. I realized that I was doing bench press wrong for ages. I was feeling it in my shoulders. My chest was quite small. My posture was over, and I wasn't training perfectly, but I was building muscle. And I got to this point where I was 85 kilos in high school. And that showed that I responded very well. obviously I played sport most weekends. I had rugby training, I had touch training. I was like fit. I was doing sprint training at training for touch and for rugby and my other sports that I was doing. So I was always very like super athletic, but like I was responding very well. So it encouraged me once again in the motivational cycle to continue to push harder into training. And then as I kind of finished high school, I started kind of falling out of love with sport, but fell deeper in love with training and really doubled down. And training was like my outlet. It was like the thing I needed to do every day. And then I started, dabbling with nutrition because I was just eating whatever I wanted, which was a lot while I was playing sport and lifting weights all day. And when you're at school, you rack up a ton of steps. You have PE class where we would play dodgeball sometimes, walking back and forth to class, even just like say playing touch or playing rugby with your mates at lunchtime burns a ton of calories. You're doing a lot of steps, a lot of physical activity. So I was eating a lot. But then when I stopped doing sport and then I started studying and then I got into music, I wanted to be like this lean, One Direction, Zayn Malik looking type dude. So I did a lot of wrong things nutritionally, but I ended up losing a ton of weight. And at my lowest, I've talked about this a lot, but I was eating like 1,500 calories a day, and I ended up getting down to 69 kilos. Okay, like I was fitting in 28 waist jeans, which for me, looking back at it now, was very unhealthy for my height and my top weight. Like I was 6 foot, I think at the time, 85 kilos. And then I went from 6 foot to 69 kilos. Like I dropped so much weight and I was very lean. I lost a lot of my muscle mass that I built and I got down to this low weight like over time. But I was doing silly things like eating 1 meal a day, eating 1,500 calories a day, eating only low carb, not touching carbohydrates, very high protein diet. I also wasn't sleeping very much because I was so determined at this time to, make a life for myself. So I was down at 69 kilos. Okay. But then the twist happened. I ended up transitioning out of music back into sport or personal training, and I got into lifting. I got into eating more. And that's when my very rapid transformation went from 69 kilos and I started gaining and I started gaining and I started training hard and I started getting stronger, started training with good form because I was now a personal trainer. I was educated, I was learning, and I was getting stronger. I was putting 20 plates on, I was putting 10 plates on, I was putting 5 plates on. I just kept getting stronger. And then I was surrounded by personal trainers. And what do personal trainers do in their spare time? They lift weights. So all we did was, if we didn't have a client, if a client canceled, we would go and lift weights. What would we do on the weekends? We'd meet up and lift weights. So I was getting like obsessed with lifting weights again, and I really loved it. And I started just like packing on muscle, and I wasn't scared of food anymore. I didn't want to be this low calorie, low carbohydrate guy because I knew that I felt great on carbohydrates. So I was just like eating, and I did go through like this kind of like eating disorder thing where I would like really try to eliminate carbs and no ice cream, no cake, no this and no that. So I'd like starve myself all day, just protein. And then I'd get home at night and I would like end up binging, which wasn't healthy at all, man. It was like actually looking back at it, it was like a pretty dark time because like I was like living on my own in a city that I didn't have any family in. I was working in a job that I was pretty new in. I was running my own business and I'd never run a business before. So, there's the thing of like people not paying and how do you manage that? Do I put them on direct debit? Do I take cash? Do I just trust them to make bank payments? Like all this kind of stuff that you go through as a personal trainer, I was like doing on my own. I didn't have a car. I had to buy one. I was working as well on the weekends to supplement my income. But as I kind of got into personal training, I really loved it. I really got into training. And to bring it back to my transformation, not my life at the time, I ended up putting like a very decent physique back on, and it was in a quick time frame because even though I was this skinny little gherkin that dropped down to 69 kilos, I still had that muscle memory. I still knew how to train. I still had this passion for training. And I was training this whole time when I was 69 kilos, but I was just training differently. I was doing a lot of cardio. I was doing a lot of sprinting. I was doing a lot of high rep work. I was not training legs because I wanted skinny legs that looked skinny in skinny jeans. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's what I was doing. And I just kept doing that, and I was going. But then when I started eating again, and I started doing strength work and doing like 2 reps, 3 reps, 4 reps, 5 reps, like sitting in this like strength rep range. And then I was like not doing cardio. I was doing sprints, or I wasn't even doing sprints sometimes. I was just lifting weights. I really started to pack on muscle, and I ended up getting to like this weight eventually when, I moved to Gold Coast, and then I moved to Sydney. When I was in Sydney, man, so from 2014 to 2017, this 3-year span, like it still took me 3 years to get to a pretty good physique. This 3-year span, I went from 69 kilos up to 90 kilos. So 21 kilos of muscle I put on, because when I was 90 kilos, I was lean. I had abs. I was leaner than I was in the 69 kilo photo. So that's the kind of background of my transformation in a shell. I could dive into specific training periodization programs that I went through, and all this type of stuff. But that's the general gist. I went from being big from being small, and then to being big again. But through this transition, I gained awesome amounts of knowledge from becoming a qualified personal trainer and doing my own genuine curious research, doing a lot of courses, online courses, seminars as well, with face-to-face, other personal trainers that I would deem as the greats, learning from them, success leaves clues and all of that stuff. And then also, muscle maturity. As you get older, your muscles begin to mature. And then as you progress through training, you also get stronger from applying progressive overload, which is a principle that you need to build muscle and to get stronger. So I was applying these things, and over time you get stronger, and a stronger body is often a more muscular body. So over that time, I really kind of transformed my body naturally. All this to say, I haven't taken performance enhancing drugs. My friends laugh on Instagram because they know me. And I'm very transparent on this podcast. I'm very transparent on my social media channels as well. If I was taking steroids, I'd probably tell you. I would tell you. I just don't want to do it. Look, if I get older and I'm done with having kids and I'm like, mate, I might jump on some TRT. You never know. I'm not opposed to it. I might do it later on. But we're talking years away. We're talking 50 years old. I'm turning 30 this year. I've got a lot of time to continue to try and take this natural physique wherever I want to take it. I haven't even peaked yet. I've got 6 years until I peak. I think you peak at about 35 years old, and then it's all downhill from there. But mate, I've got a bright future for building muscle. So if you think I'm on performance enhancing drugs now, it's only going to get worse. Yeah, I haven't touched it. I don't want to touch it. I don't need to touch it. I'm a coach. I'm not stepping on stage for bodybuilding. And even if I ever competed in bodybuilding, I would do it in a natural class, which I know can just be you can take it on the off season and then go off cycle for the competition. And then you've already, your physiology is different if you have taken steroids before. But anyway, I haven't touched it. And that's the story of my natural transformation. Believe me or don't, but that's how I would tell it. As I said, my friends, especially my childhood friends that lifted with me through high school, Rob, me, Huddle, Eugene, Kaylee, these guys that I talked about that I lifted with at Christchurch Boys High School when we went there. They'll vouch for me, and they just think it's funny. But I was just, I guess, ruthlessly committed to lifting weights and blessed with good genetics and a good hard work ethic. And, those 3 things are a pretty strong trifecta for awesome results. And, the last thing I'll say on that, and this is definitely not from a narcissistic place, but a lot of the people that write those comments could either be jealous or just upset that they haven't got the same results. I'm not trying to say that people are jealous of my physique, because that sounds so big-headed, it's crazy. But a lot of people are like, well, I've been lifting for 15 years and I don't look like that. And then, my response to that is, okay, what about your genetics? What about your work ethic? And what about the actual quality of work that you put in? Because, I was obsessed with it. I was only thinking about lifting weights for ages. I studied it. I'm obsessed with it. I'm pairing it with awesome nutrition now. I'm aware that sleep is super important. I know that supplements can help. I know that things like caffeine and creatine and beta-alanine can really, help you with that. Like 15 years of training is 15 years of training. But it's also very different. Like if someone trained for 15 years versus me, maybe I just worked harder than them. Maybe I took most of my sets closer to failure than them. Maybe I got a little bit more sleep than them. Maybe I didn't. Maybe, I did a well-structured program and they didn't. So there's a ton of things that needs to be considered when we're thinking about, oh yeah, I've trained for 10 years too, but I don't look like that. So you must be on performance enhancing drugs. All right, that's just a stupid argument because, your training could be subpar in many ways. And maybe mine is too. Maybe someone that's trained 15 years looks way better than me. Natural. Hats off to them, man. I don't care. I'm very confident in my own skin. Okay, I've achieved this physique. This is what's happened in 15 years. What am I going to do now to change that? I've also picked up jiu-jitsu, which slows me down a bit. Like my knees sore. I knee barred myself as I got swept in half guard. I rolled the wrong way and now my right leg doesn't straighten. And like when I first started jiu-jitsu, my elbows were always sore. Sometimes my neck is like super stiff. Sometimes my lower back's stiff. And like it does affect my lifting. So I think if I didn't do that and I just invested my entire time into lifting weights and stuff, then I think I would have a better physique in terms of muscle and in terms of strength. But, I choose to do jiu-jitsu because it's a fun thing for me physically. I've stepped away from sport, but now I'm doing sport again and it's really fun. It's a solo sport, but it's also kind of like a team sport as well because you roll with all the dudes and the chicks that are there and you make friendships and you're learning all the time. You're learning ways to pass the guard, to foot lock, to arm lock, to choke. Positional play, open guard, all this type of stuff. You're learning all these techniques. So it kind of so the way I explain it, like weights versus jiu-jitsu, what is the best thing? I think, weights are not alive. They don't move. They don't think for themselves. You just lift them. The harder you want to make it, you can just add more weight, or you can choose an exercise that's more difficult, let's say. But with jiu-jitsu, the thing that I like is you're dealing with another person that is trying to react, and they're alive and they think and they have an ability to reason. So they might go for a move and then you got to shut that down. They might fake a move and then you might fall for it and then they have a counter to that. But then what's your response to that? So like it's live. It's like decision making on the spot. Like I find that very exciting. I'm also a very competitive person, so I like versing people. Not that I'm out there to like smash people and take souls and, come home and feel like a king because I've obliterated people in the gym. Because to be honest, that doesn't really happen. There's people that beat me up. But, it's very fun to verse someone live. And I find like that element that it brings to my life just supplements lifting weights. Like with lifting weights, I know that all the weight's going to do is like make it harder for me. But with jiu-jitsu, it's not just like, okay, I'm versing a strong guy. They're going to be much stronger. It's more difficult. It's like, okay, their technique's better. Okay, they're more explosive than me. Okay, they're way heavier than me. Okay, they're more flexible than me. Okay, they're smarter than me. They have better technique than me. They've been doing it longer than me. Like there's all these factors. So it's very fun and stimulating.